Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. I'm here joined with Matt Montemayor. Famous Dr. J could not join us today. He will be back tomorrow. A lot going on today in the week as we approach Bitcoin futures option expiration tomorrow. That's always going to be the last Friday in each month. But before we get started, I want to pass things to Monty with some data coming out of Glassnode. What do you got for us, sir?
Yeah, CJ. So like you said, this has been a pretty crazy week for Bitcoin especially. And before we even get into that, I just want to look at the price chart. So let's go back to yesterday. Let's talk about Elon Musk and tweeting and what that did to price. So as you can see right here, we got this massive spike in price that took us all the way up to 56.9K. And when you have a news-driven event like Elon Musk tweeting about Bitcoin and tweeting that you can purchase Teslas using Bitcoin, and not only that, but that they would be holding it in Bitcoin and not converting to fiat, news like that tends to affect the retail trader more so than the institutional trader. So this spike up to 56K that we saw yesterday was more than likely entirely due to retail speculation. And when that happens, the whales see this as an opportunity to drive price down and take profits while they're doing so. So when this retail market was driven up, the whales took some profits, and that's supported by this Glassnode data right here. So CJ brought this up just the other day, and I think it's getting even more relevant and even more interesting now. So as you can see, we had a massive transfer volume yesterday. It was actually a record for 2021. And when you see this, this is one thing that's really interesting about Bitcoin, right? Is we have these sort of on-chain metrics. This doesn't mean that people are selling Bitcoin. This actually means that they're taking it off spot exchanges where they could sell it and moving it to cold storage and locking it up. Willie Woo, one of our favorite analysts, actually coined a new term for this. He called them Rick Astley holders because they're never going to give Bitcoin up. They're never going to let it down. They're never going to turn around and desert it. So that's what they do when they move it to cold storage. They're not selling it. And that's kind of supported by this other Glassnode data, the liquid supply change. Another record broken for 2021 in terms of net liquid supply change. So that just supports the theory that people are moving Bitcoin off spot exchanges and putting it into cold storage for the long term. So although there was some retail panic this week, the institutions and the whales just stayed the course. They bought the dip, moved into cold storage, and just remained the Rick Astley holders that they are. So you got to think about it, when the retail traders sell, it goes out of their hands and straight into the diamond hands of these long-term holders. So really interesting implications for the price of Bitcoin. And I think it's kind of encouraging that the whales are buying this dip. It kind of gives us an indication that 50K might be the price floor. But CJ, what are your kind of thoughts on this? I know you love Glassnode and looking at these on-chain metrics.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is a new kind of species of whale. That's what Willie has said from this analysis as well. And that has to do with hedge funds. And so, we remember the individuals that got in around the time of Paul Tudor Jones, some of those other, the institutions who really took a chance when Bitcoin was at like 8 or 10,000. And I think those guys are really lightening up and taking profit as we get to the expirations tomorrow, as well as tax season coming up next month, quarter rebalancing. A lot of that stuff is likely responsible for the sell pressure in the interim that we're seeing, despite that good and very bullish long-term macro fundamentals that Monty so comically referred to as the Rick Astley holders.
Yeah, and I think it also has to do with like the traditional financial markets, right? We saw a pretty steep sell-off on Tuesday. And I think that because of that, people are just kind of moving into cash a little bit and out of equities and crypto. So I think that once we kind of get that turnaround, we may see a little bit more price action for Bitcoin. So I'll be excited to ask Dr. J about that tomorrow. We also have expiries coming up on Friday. So we'll ask him about that tomorrow because there's some really important stuff coming up tomorrow. So should be a good show tomorrow. But I think that's pretty much all we got for Bitcoin. And we can move quickly into our doges of the day today. Jon isn't here. He's kind of the volume expert for the doge of the day. But I just have a real quick one that I wanted to bring up, and that is algo. I published yesterday a trade insight for the members of our community. We try to publish one a week, and what we look for in these trade insights are one, sound technicals, and two, some sort of ignition or something fundamentally that would incentivize retail traders or other traders to start investing in this asset. And I think algo checks both of those boxes very well. So just a few weeks ago, they announced a partnership with PayPal and Curve. So that's big for low cap altcoins. Strategic marketing partnerships like that are sometimes all it takes to propel an asset to new highs. But I also really like the technical aspect of algo right now. It's kind of been consolidating since it climbed up in the middle of February, and it's gravitating towards this dollar level. So I got here the 4-hour chart, and you can see beyond the psychological level of a dollar, we actually have a nice TD support level here. And I think this is setting up nicely for this kind of interim trade range between $1.10 and $1. So if you can enter anywhere in this window, I think that could be a good long-term profitable trade. So I'll be watching algo closely. I think it can kind of break to some new highs maybe later next week once Bitcoin starts to really get some traction. So yeah, that's kind of my Doge of the day is algo.
Yeah, and speaking to Algo's business partnership, it's don't underestimate those business relationships because even if in the grand scheme of things they don't always come to fruition for the absolute benefits, in the interim they do likely affect price and how things will move. I think we all remember, if we were around for the myriad of Ripple announcements and partnerships throughout the years, that did a lot for price. But this one is different because it is with real companies. For instance, Curve is a custodial solution for cryptocurrencies that was bought by PayPal. And so Algorand is going to be working with some of the security and integrated with Curve there. So definitely watch for that partnership and whatever Algo does into the future. But with that being said, any closing thoughts here, sir?
No, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with another live episode. We'll also be back later today with Trade the Chain. Alex and Ryan will be joining us live from Puerto Rico. So,
oh man, it's gonna be a mess, but we look forward to it.
yeah, we'll do our best. It'll be a typical Trade the Chain show. But anyways, thank you so much to Voyager for sponsoring this. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to come chat with CJ and I, you can try our crypto trading room for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. It's $1 for the first month. And we got a pro charting service, an ever growing community of really intelligent traders. And we publish trade insights like the Algorand one you just saw on a weekly basis. So check it out. It's worth a shot. And we'd love to have you and chat with you. So thank you so much for watching. And we will see you again tomorrow.